Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. President Bola Tinubu sympathized with victims of the recent gas explosion at the Ita-Oshin, Abeokuta North local government area of Ogun State. The president also sympathizes with the Ogun State government and residents of the state over the tragedy. A statement signed by Tinubu's special advisor on media and publicity, Ajirin Gelale, read, "At least one person was reported dead, 6 others were injured, and 6 vehicles were burnt in a gas tanker explosion on Saturday at Ita-Oshin along the Abeokuta-Sango-Lagos Expressway. The accident reportedly happened at about 4:10 p.m. The explosion from the solitary gas truck rippled through the community, resulting in the loss of life and properties. Tinubu commended Governor Dapo Abiodun on his valiant efforts to arrest the situation and immediately restore calm to the community. The federal government has declared Wednesday, May 1st as a public holiday to mark this year's Workers' Day. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, made this declaration on behalf of the federal government in a statement issued Tuesday in Abuja by the Permanent Secretary in the ministry, Dr. Ashaitu Gogo Indayako. Tunji-Ojo reiterated the need for excellence, efficiency, and equity in all spheres of labor, reaffirming President Bola Tinubu's administration's commitment to fostering a culture of innovation, productivity, and inclusivity in the workplace. While acknowledging the contribution of workers, he called for proactive measures to mitigate the adverse effect of climate change through synergy in implementation of the policies that promote well-being in the workplace and in building a nation guided by the principles of integrity, diligence, and compassion. The minister also urged Nigerians to remain committed to the present administration's renewed hope agenda as he wished workers a happy celebration. Yaga Africa has called on President Tinubu-led administration to articulate and implement a definitive electoral reform agenda. Executive Director Yaga Africa, Samson Itodo, made the call while reeling out recommendation after presenting report on the Nigeria's electoral process 1 year after 2023 general election. He says the commitment of the presidency to support and assent to legislative efforts to reform the electoral framework is critical to restoring public trust, while charging the judiciary to conduct an introspective audit to rectify the inconsistencies and legal discrepancies that have contributed to a decline in judicial trust among Nigerian people. Kikelomo Okere has details.
The pro-democracy organization noted that 1 year after the general election, an Afrobarometer survey revealed that only 23% of Nigeria trust the Independent National Electoral Commission, adding that it signifies a crisis of confidence that must be urgently addressed. The Election Monitoring Board stated this in the latest report titled Electoral Trust Restored: Nigeria Electoral Process 1 year after the 2023 general election. The Executive Director, Yaga Africa, insisted on stringent measures against electoral offenders to deter future misconduct. He further urged the judiciary and security agencies to protect the sanctity of electoral material and the legal right of stakeholders to seek justice.
The President has not made any comment or even shared what his stance or the stance of his administration on electoral reforms. The third, that we've constantly observed is attempts to capture the institution of INEC through controversial appointments. One other trend is unchecked electoral misconduct and the prosecution of electoral offenders, we've not really made progress, and that's why you have this culture of electoral impunity within our political system.
A comprehensive analysis of the state of the electoral process following the latest general election shows that there is decline in public trust and unclear stance of the Tinubu-led administration on electoral reform.
To ensure that our next election is better than the one that brought us in. We saw that happen in 2007, after the 2007 elections, with Yar'Adua's government, and we have seen that commitment to say, look, we need to take some actions, and we know what those actions led to. And in fact, today, we may not be talking about the history of some of the reforms that have been made in our electoral history, particularly the recent ones, without making reference to some of those actions that were taken after the 2007 elections.
The perceived capture of the election management body through partisan appointments undermine INEC's integrity. IAGA Africa says it stands firm against any form of political interference that compromises the neutrality and independence of the electoral institution. Kike Lomo Okem, Global Television News.
Justice Iyan Eko of the Federal High Court in Abuja dismissed two separate suits challenging the People's Democratic Party's primary election that produced Ighodalo as the party's governorship candidate for the Edo poll. The court dismissed the suit on the premise of the lack of local standing on the part of the plaintiffs. Justice Eko held that the plaintiffs failed to convince the court or show sufficient direct and tangible personal interest that could lead the court to nullify the primary election. The court maintained that the plaintiff did not establish how their interests were affected or jeopardized by the primary election. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited began offloading 240 million liters of premium motor spirit, otherwise called petrol, as it stepped up efforts to tackle the worsening nationwide petrol scarcity. As the NNPCL began offloading petrol, filling stations sold the product at an average price of 800 naira per liter in various locations. The 240 million liters of petrol imported into the country came in through 5 vessels, which were offloaded into 5 depots. Despite claims by the NNPCL that the logistic issues causing fuel scarcity had been addressed, Nigerians in Lagos and other parts of the country still struggle to get fuel as many filling stations remained shut. The resurgence of queues at filling stations across major cities in the country has started posing a challenge for motorists as it continues to have adverse impact on households and businesses across the sectors. While Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited says the scarcity is occasioned by the issues relating to logistics, the price of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, has skyrocketed across the country, with some states purportedly selling for between 1,200 and 1,500 naira. Here at the Federal Capital Territory, Global TV's Sharon Ajay follows this rather disturbing development for us.
The fuel scarcity invariably creates difficulty for those in need of the product, especially those involved in the transportation business, lamenting the cost of living due to the high cost of food prices in the market. The fuel scarcity has made it a lot worse.
In fact, I'm not finding it funny. Buying something in the market is a problem. Queue again for filling station is a problem. I have my money in my hand. To buy fuel again is a problem. I was here before 6 o'clock before 7 o'clock this morning. Look at the time now. We are buying this thing and we are suffering queue again. Please, if you people can beg, help us and talk to people that you people are reporting to talk to these people for us. Nobody is finding it funny again for this Nigeria S-word.
Applauding the government for their efforts put in place to ease the cost of living for the masses. More measures should be put in place to curtail the fuel scarcity.
How can a country that produces crude oil be suffering this type of thing to get better? It's very, very unfair. I'm not in support of that. The government should do something. Though they are trying their best, but they should try more to make sure that the masses are happy. People are not happy. For over 2 weeks, queue here and there. I struggled for more than 1-2 hours before I could get inside here, which is not fair.
Over the years, the fuel scarcity has been occasionally, judging by the current worsened state of the scarcity of the regular queues. It's definitely uncertain when the scarcity would come to an end.
It's something that we have been battling with for the past many years, so it's not new to me.
Judging by the queue at Central Area NNPC, we see that the fuel scarcity still lingers, regardless of the claims made by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, in regards to the logistic issue that has caused the fuel scarcity to linger. We see that Nigeria still struggles to get fuel. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
The senator representing Kwara North Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Sadiq Umar, has described the current fuel scarcity in the country as worrisome. Umar said the scarcity has made it imperative for the Senate to review the fuel policy and come up with legislative intervention in its Tuesday sitting with a bid to nip the situation in the bud. He therefore called on Nigerians to be patient with the government, saying the frantic efforts are ongoing by the President Bola Tinubu-led administration to make life more bearable for Nigerians. On the hike in electricity tariff, Umar hinted that the Senate will organize a public hearing on the matter to either reverse the policy or break it into phases. The National Association of Nigerian Students has threatened to embark on mass action if the federal government fails to take immediate steps to address the current fuel scarcity in the country. The students' body also asked the group managing director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, to resign if he could not take decisive actions to resolve the fuel crisis. The association's Senate President, Babatunde Akinteye, in a statement lamented that the fuel scarcity has left many citizens, including students, frustrated and helpless. In continuation of its crackdown on forex racketeers, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has penciled for investigation 1,146 bank accounts belonging to individuals and companies over alleged money laundering and unauthorized dealing in foreign exchange and illegal naira manipulation. The Commission secured an interim order granted by Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Abuja, freezing the accounts. The EFCC had told the court that the accounts were linked to persons taking advantage of the cryptocurrency to illegally manipulate the naira value. The Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, has said that closed-circuit television and solar lights will be installed on the 3rd Mainland Bridge by June to check the activities of illegal miners in the infrastructure. Umahi said this after a routine inspection of the under-deck project at Ido Bridge, Keta Bridge and the 3rd Mainland Bridges in Lagos. He said Bega is the contractor doing the Ido Bridge, Keta Bridge and 3rd Mainland Bridge and has seen the pace of work made and also happy with it. Also, he promised to increase the pace of work against the incoming lagoon tide in June. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board on Monday released the result of the 2024 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, showing that 1.4 million candidates out of 1.8 million failed to score 200 out of 400 marks. The number of candidates who failed to score half of the possible marks represents 78% of the candidates whose results were released by JAMB. Giving a breakdown of the result of the 1.8 million candidates released, the board's registrar, Professor Ishak Oloide, noted that 8,401 candidates scored 300 marks and above, while 77,070 scored 250 and above. 439,974 scored 200 and above, while 1.4 million scored below 200 marks. Ogun State Governor Dakpo Abiodun ordered the evacuation of residents in some of the buildings affected by the gas explosion in the Ita-Oshin area of Abeokuta North local government area of the state. The governor, during an on-the-spot assessment of damage done to properties and businesses around the area, said the evacuation would allow for integrity tests to be carried out on the affected buildings. Abiodun promised that the state would foot the hospital bills of victims of the incident, while owners of damaged property would be compensated. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives Ben Kalu says the traditional institutions in Nigeria must be strengthened and protected from the influence of elected officials. Kalu stated this during a visit to the palace of the Emir of Kano, Aminu Bayero. The Deputy Speaker, in a statement by his spokesperson Levinius Nwabu Ogu, said he plans to engage with the traditional rulers in the ongoing constitutional amendment process and to incorporate the traditional institutions into the document. Kalu, the chairman of the House Committee on Constitution Review, said the monarchs must have security of office not guaranteed by the local government chairman, governors, or the president, but by the Constitution. The Lagos State Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, in its effort to tackle flooding in the state, has commenced an enforcement initiative aimed at reclaiming a vital drainage channel known as the System Drainage Midstream in Ojota, Udu. The ministry's commissioner, Tokumbo Wahab, who tweets as Tokumbo_Wahab on X.com, disclosed this. He stated that an inspection revealed that property owners were building new structures within the designated areas. Wahab stated that the contravention notices had been served to property owners in the area since 2021 to encourage voluntary compliance. However, some disregarded the notices and continued construction within the designated area. The drainage channel, which is very important to Lagos State, will address major flooding issues on the mainland and its environs. And moving to Edo State, the governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, has announced a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira for civil servants. The governor made this known while inaugurating the Labour House. Obaseki named the Labour House after Adams Oshomole, senator representing Edo North and former governor of the state. The new minimum wage regime in Edo will take effect from May 1st, 2024. Recall that the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, have been pushing for a new minimum wage for workers across the states. This is coming on the heels of the hardship occasioned by the economic reforms of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Meanwhile, the national minimum wage has been pegged at 30,000 naira since April 18, 2019. The federal government has appealed to the United States of America to repatriate more illicit funds transferred from Nigerian officials through its banking system. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, appealed in his remarks at the 6th session of the Nigerian-U.S. Binational Commission in Abuja. He reiterated the Nigerian government's commitment to utilizing these funds for the collective benefit of its citizens in line with agreement with development partners. You're watching News Circle coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When News Circle returns, poor power supply, governors hire consultants to break Disco's monopoly. These and other stories coming right after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. This is Global Television bringing you a live broadcast of News Cycle. Thank you for staying with us. On the foreign scene, the first proceedings in a sprawling multi-part trial against members of an alleged far-right plot to attack the German parliament and overthrow the government began in Stuttgart. 9 members of the group led by the minor aristocrat and businessman Prince Heinrich 8 Rus will take the stand in the southwestern city. They included, among others, a special forces soldier, a former far-right MP, an astrologer, and a well-known chef. Prosecutors accused them of preparing a treasonous undertaking to topple the German government. The affair is the most high-profile recent case of far-right violence, which officials say has grown to become the biggest extremist threat in Germany. And that's how we call it a wrap on News Cycle. I am Anthony Momodu. Good evening.